is room for all in the shadow of God's wing. There is room for all sheltered in God's love. And I rejoice and sing, my refuge and my rock in whom I trust. There is room for all. There is room for all. There is room for all in the shadow of God's wing. There is room for all sheltered in God's love. And I rejoice and sing, my refuge and my rock in whom I trust. There is room for all. There is room for all. There is room for all. There is room for all.
Well, good morning and welcome to our service of worship this morning. We gather in this space from our many varied places, and we come united in spirit and hopefully empowered by spirit to live into our daily living as servants of Jesus. I don't think I have any announcements other than choir is starting again.
Yes, I'm delighted that for arts and culture we are able to increase gathering limits a little bit, and so handbells meet on Wednesdays and church choir meets on Thursdays, and I'd love to see you there.
And in terms of, we are anticipating that perhaps in the next little while gathering numbers will be raised a little bit. When they are raised to 100, we will reopen for in-person worship, masked and distanced, obviously, and we will also continue to record those services for online for those of you who are still not comfortable being in larger spaces with larger numbers of people at this time in the journey. So that's something to look forward to, and I'm hoping that maybe that'll be announced this afternoon, but who knows?
Ooh, spoiler, we record this earlier in the week.
Spoiler, yeah. We're recording this on Wednesday, not on Sunday morning. I think that's it though, eh?
I think so.
Okay. Then as we prepare to enter into this time together, let us breathe deeply. And I'm going to invite us to open with the words that have been written by Bruce Sanguin as we pray together. Come, friends of spirit, let us gather in gratitude, opening to the chaos of life, the mistakes, the messes, the muddles. But let us also open to the order of things, the magnificent and the marvelous patterns of it all, and to the beauty that is beyond our minds to comprehend, but not to be apprehended by it. Let us calmly celebrate that we are held by an order that emerges from the chaos, and by a chaos that loosens suffocating structures. And let us learn to trust that this play of order and chaos is spirit dancing its way into a sanctified future. Amen.
Let's hear these words from Sacred Story.
Trust in God with all your heart, and do not rely on your own insight. In all your ways acknowledge holy mystery, and all your paths will be made straight. Proverbs 3, verse 5-6.
Reading from the Gospel named for Mark. Jesus said to him, "If you are able, all things can be done for the one who believes."
For truly I tell you, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, "Move from here to there," and it will move. and nothing will be impossible for you. Matthew 17, verse 20.
Jesus said to him, "Have you believed because you have seen me? Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have come to believe."
Placing trust in God, we are shown the way. Walking in the darkness, working through the fray. We are given freedom, now we sing our song. God within us living, and we belong.
Let us unite our hearts in prayer. We come and open ourselves to Spirit as it weaves in and through and among us. May the words of our sacred story, the words of our creed, the stories we share, open us to new insights, wonder, possibility, promise. And now may the words of my mouth and the meditations of all our hearts be acceptable this day. Amen. So we are in week 3, and today's statement of our creed that we're going to look at is the shortest of the statements. It is simply, we trust in God. When I first started to put together the series for this 5-week time together, I sent a message out to you folks and asked if you would help me in today's service. Namely, if you would share with me some of what that statement means to you. So what does it mean when you say, I trust in God? And we got a lot of responses. So I want to start by sharing with you the words that come from you. Lisa writes, I think trusting in God doesn't mean that we expect when we pray for things that they will happen as we wish. Rather, for me, it means regardless of what happens, God is with us and will hold us through the good times and the bad. Praying helps us to recognize and to trust God's presence in our lives. Shirley offers these words. We trust in God. I remember growing up and attending Sunday school, and these words were often throughout our lessons. When I learned about the First and Second World Wars, I learned about the brave men and women who gave their lives for freedom, who also placed their lives in God's hands. In God we trust. I am dealing with a medical issue. I do not know its outcome, but each day I place myself in God's trust. Gloria shares, I've always felt that fear was the opposite of trust, and since I don't fear God, I trust God. I suppose the experiences that one has had in life would color their trust, but I have a very basic feeling of God as a loving parent. One can really mess up, but we're all forgiven and loved. The only thing I expect from God is a safe place to fall, and I trust that that will always be provided. With the statement, we trust in God, I see God as the divinity within us all. It doesn't matter what religion. If we trust in God, spirit, goodness, we trust that there is a divinity within all people, giving the ability to step up when there is a need. To be aware of this divinity, a connection to creation is within each and every one of us, but often, like old friends, gets put on the back burner and needs reacquainting and an effort to connect. People easily get lost and often feel alone and separate, as if there is no one to be there for them, no one to love them. But with guidance, they realize there is always someone. There is always a loving spirit to connect with. I had a time in my life when I felt very unloved and opened a book and saw these words, "Where there is no love, there is always love." It suddenly struck me like a light and gave me a connection I didn't know was there. I was looking for love from others. We all long for this connection, but often we forget and need to recharge to energize the connection. A little like electricity. We need to be plugged in to feel the energy. I have come to know this universal connection, and believe this connection to love is encoded in our DNA. Those were words from Honora. Shauna writes, "Trusting God for me means that each of us is constantly guided, protected, and healed, as long as our free will allows and receives it." Tilly writes, "I don't think we should trust in God to make all our problems go away. My thinking is that whatever we believe God is, we should always turn to our faith to give us comfort and hope in times of uncertainty. This is a belief I have never turned away from." And Phil offers us this reflection. Trust is a firm belief, according to the dictionary. So to have trust, we must strongly believe in something. But more than blind belief or blind trust, we must also have faith. Faith in something in order to deliver trust. In combat, I learned to pray. Prayer became my thing in order to hang on to the desire and want to survive, to live the next second so I could live for another day. When we were attacking an enemy position, running as fast as we could, firing real bullets, I learned to pray. Lord, let me live. I prayed for my rifle not to fail me, for my feet and legs not to stumble. And in my prayers, I found faith. Faith in myself, faith in my luck to be strong and not fail. And with prayer and faith, I learned to trust. So today you asked me to think about, we trust in God. For me, that trust comes from living daily in the valley of death and fearing no evil. Where if you have chosen to survive the bullets and the bombs of life, every day becomes a journey through the valley. You learn to pray, not just in church, but every moment of your existence. And lo and behold, from the depths of fear and the death that might surround you, both in body and in spirit, comes faith and trust. And Kathy offers us these words. As a process theologian, I reject many of the beliefs about God held in Christian circles, but I have a good illustration of what trust in God means to me. Imagine having a road map with many possible routes available to get to a particular destination. Some roads are better than others, and we map out a route using the information available to us in our planning. In the same way, God has made pathways that we can take on our life's journey, with many crossroads where choices or decisions are made that determine where we go next. God does not choose the road we take, but if we have an open heart and mind, we can gently be guided on the pathway that is best for us. Trust in God means believing in that gentle guidance, even if we miss the signposts we are given. God will walk alongside us no matter what road we are on, even if it is far from the one that God would have picked for us. Now, I'm sure that each of you might have your own words to explain what that is for you. And I encourage you to ponder it as we continue to speak about and trust in God. For me, when I started to think about that statement, we trust in God, I thought, well, you know what, I need to do like Phil did and go to the dictionary and look at what the meaning of trust actually is. And according to the dictionary, trust is a firm belief in the truth, reliability, ability, and strength of someone or something. And so for me, what jumped out at me was the in something, which opened it up for my whole wondering about trust in God, because you all know that for me, I had long ago abandoned the notion that God was a person, so I'm not trusting in someone. But I do trust in something. And the thing that I trust in is this power that is within, around, and beyond me, that gives me strength. What I believe in when I say I trust, what I trust in is the reliability of that presence. A presence that is always, constantly, forever there, regardless of what's happening. What I believe in is a truth that is mysterious and is tangible at the same time. And what that means for me is that with a trust in this divine reality, I have the strength I need and the ability I need to engage in daily living. And what I know to be true is that even in my darkest, most pain-filled moments, I have been given a strength that is beyond my wildest imaginings. What I know is that it is because of that trust that I can see possibility and promise. Now, some would suggest that perhaps that's where my rose-colored glasses come from, and you'd be right. I know one of the things that irritates my children beyond belief is when they've been having difficulties, facing problems at work, or they've had setbacks, or there's something happening in their life that isn't going exactly the way that they had anticipated or planned. I always jump in with, don't worry, It will work out. And I believe that with my entire being, with every fiber of my being, because I've seen it lived out, proven out, over and over again. Now, things might not turn out as we originally envisioned, or perhaps the way that we want it to, but life unfolds. And in its unfolding, for me, trust in divine reality is what enables me to take whatever's happening and to see the good and make it great. That, for me, is trust in God. And ultimately, when I think about that statement, what surfaces for me is an image of my mother at the close of every day, kneeling beside her bed in prayer. And I remember at some point in the journey having a conversation with her. We often talked about faith and our journeys, and I asked her, really, why kneel beside your bed, to say your prayers? And why pray at the end of the day? Why do you do that? And she said, because before I get into bed and close my eyes, I take a moment to release all of the day's activities, all of the worries, the concerns, the joys, the celebrations, into God's hands. You see, I know that now, particularly the stressful things, I can do nothing else about. And so I let it go. And I get up from my prayer. And I trust that everything, my struggles, my joys, everything, are held in love. And so I can crawl into bed and close my eyes in peace. Now that is trust.
Let us pray. Dear loving God, there is so much to give thanks for and to be grateful for. But today, we especially give thanks for your grace, for your trust, and for your faith, for your companionship along this journey in this life. Thank you for the workers who help restore the power after the storm, and the snowplow drivers, and everybody in the snow removal to keep our highways and roads and sidewalks safe. But we also carry worries and concerns. We pray for the siblings experiencing discrimination, fear, and oppression in the town of Truro, in our country, and internationally. We also pray for our government leaders at all the levels for a peaceful resolution with the protesters, and also in the decision-making with the COVID protocols being released this week. We keep our hearts for the Wanda Robinson and her family. We pray for those with illnesses, both visible and invisible. Thank you for your love, your faith, your compassion, and your vulnerability. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
And as we prepare to leave this space and go back out into the world, we go as the hands and feet of Jesus in this time and place. As a community of faith, we hold in our hearts John Cook and John and Judy's children, as Judy has completed her journey in this realm and has risen in glory. We hold them in our hearts as they grieve and as they move forward. We also reach out our hands in service to the community around us that is a part of us. We bring hope, light, and love to a broken and a hurting world. May it be so.
Keeps the